Hey everybody, guess what? We're back. The We Believe You podcast, episode 6.
Woohoo! We're back.
Yeah, it has been a long fucking time since we have done one of these. And we didn't really prepare much for this, but we got some cool shit. We got listener stories.
Yeah, this will be our first listener stories, volume 1.
Yeah, every other episode is, primarily talked about us and our weird backgrounds and shit. And yeah, this one isn't about us at all.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Just had the 4th of July, had some fun weekend with hanging out with friends and a dog party, and I'm up to 10 bug bites.
Oh man, I wish I only had 10 bug bites.
They keep appearing, and I think the 11th just popped up and is starting to itch, so I am upset.
So I'm gonna get this started because I don't think I've told you the story, but it's a new fun game, a new segment we're gonna have on the podcast. It's called "Was It Drugs or Paranormal?"
I love it.
And because when you experience various things and you tell people stories, a lot of people will question, "Oh, how high were you?" I know
What drugs were you on?
What drugs were you on?
Hook me up with that.
Well, asshole, sometimes you're wrong and sometimes you're right. And so,
No, I'm not saying it was drugs, but it was drugs.
All right, now I'm just going to jump right into it. Was it drugs or paranormal? A Philadelphia couple. Mm-hmm. This was a few months back, and this is me just remembering the article that I read. And so I'm going to probably slip up some facts and whatnot, but this is the best of my knowledge. I can remember it. There's a Philadelphia couple driving down the road in their car, and all of a sudden they started seeing laser lights in the sky, just all over the place. And they stopped their car and were looking at them. They were certain that they're alien lights. They said that they could feel the car vibrating, and they were freaked out. And so the guy gets out of his car with his gun, and he does what anybody would do in this situation. He started shooting at the laser lights and the UFOs.
Why wouldn't you do that?
I mean, yeah, you got to protect not only the world, but your honey. He's got a sweet lady in the car. And so, unable to defeat these laser lights that are now engulfing his car, he says, he runs to the nearest house, bangs on the door, and a nice lady answers. Just a regular person answers the door, and he's screaming about UFO invasion and laser lights and how he's covered in alien radiation. Mm-mm. So he demands to take a shower at her house. He's like, and so the lady does what most rational people would do. Mm-hmm. She calls the police.
Yeah, right.
Now, was there an alien invasion in Philadelphia, or was he on drugs?
Was there any other reports of lasers in the sky from anybody else?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe. What do you think?
I think he just really wanted to take a shower.
I mean, that was probably part of it. But
knocks on the door. Hey, do you happen to have a jacuzzi tub?
Because there's aliens.
You do? Okay, because I need to take a jacuzzi tub right now. The jets work? All right, perfect.
Well, here's the answer. Those laser lights were fireflies, and the couple was high on bath salts.
Dun, 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 dun.
So in this case, yes.
It was drugs.
It was drugs. Isn't that a fun game?
That's a fun game. I
love it. So we've had a few people write us and email us stories, and we're finally catching up on a lot of that shit. So maybe we'll go back and forth. We have a couple from two of the same people, so maybe I'll read the first one, you read the second one. Mm-hmm. We'll kind of go back and forth. But actually, before we get into that, do we want to talk about what we've been doing, why we've been delaying? Just let people know we're super fucking lazy.
Lazy, tired, busy. Every weekend of this summer has been literally taken with something.
Yeah.
Let it be family events, friend events, just things going on. Every summer we have to get out our calendar and jot down everything that we have going on.
Please everybody else.
And please everybody else. Some weekends we even had like 3 events in one day, and it's just bouncing back and forth, and so it's been pretty busy, and plus, work's been crazy, and so during the week we kind of focus on work, and then and then on the weekends usually we try to do something for this, but we've just been unavailable, unfortunately. So we apologize.
Yeah. And in the meantime, with all that shit going on, I've been pretty much finishing writing a record with my band Loud Sleepers, and we're starting to record that soon. So hopefully we can squeeze more of these in. Also started doing stand-up comedy in that amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Just had my second set the other night. I gave myself a C.
Nice.
Yeah, it's way better than an F.
Yeah.
I haven't not made people laugh.
That's always good. That's always good.
But yeah, since then I haven't really had any paranormal shit go down in my life. It's been a minute.
I haven't had anything real weird. I don't think. Nothing real crazy strange.
Definitely not. I've fallen down the missing 411 rabbit hole and brought you down a little bit with it, but I feel like I've fallen a bit further down there.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna talk about that shit on probably our next episode. But it's hard to not just repeat the normal bullshit that everybody else is.
Yeah, I've noticed that every time I try to look up 411, the missing 411 stuff, or listen to it on other podcasts, it's a lot of the same stories.
Yeah, I mean they're fucking interesting.
And they're
stories.
Interesting, and they're sad, and
but no one's presenting any weird ideas as to what's happened. There hasn't been enough speculation and shit.
Yeah.
And
the documentary on Netflix,
I think it's on Hulu.
On Hulu was really good.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, missing 411 cases involve people that have gone mysteriously missing at national parks, and I think state parks, but mostly national parks. And then, obviously, people are going to go missing. It's the woods. There's wild animals. There's creepers. But when you really get into this rabbit hole, there's so many similarities between all these cases. And I forget the name of the dude who wrote the books Missing 411. But he definitely, he's wrote multiple books, and he really starts breaking it down. And I don't know how much presenting of hypotheticals he gets into, but when we do our episode, I'm gonna go off on I'm gonna get real fucking weird with it, because there's some weird shit going down with that.
Well, and the weird thing is that a lot of these stories you would think, oh, that person was out hiking by themselves and stuff, which, a lot of the times that is the case, where they are alone, maybe just doing a day hike, which I've done that. I've gone on many day hikes by myself, and, just to clear my mind or something like that. But a lot of the stories too are groups of people, or 2 people, or a group of people, and a kid goes missing. It's just really interesting how you could be in a big group, and then all of a sudden one member is just gone.
Yeah, there's some crazy shit. And the fact that we'll get in more of this on another episode, but just the similarities, they all happen at kind of the same time of day, and it's during the middle of the day. It's from 2 to 5 p.m. And it's people are going missing in plain sight in the middle of the day, surrounded by people.
Yeah.
And
beautiful day out, sunshine, all this stuff.
When clothes are found and whatnot, they're not ripped up. They're just sitting there. I don't know. Finding kids' bodies 15 miles away on ridiculous hikes.
Yeah.
where the police just say, "Oh, well, that 3-year-old must have just hiked all night for 15 hours up that ridge, down it, and up the other ridge." And
Yeah.
then they talked to like Les Stroud, and like he tried to recreate the hike and couldn't do it at night.
Yeah. I
And
think
he's,
the author is David. I can't remember. I can't
if I
pronounce
see
his.
his last name, I know it.
Politis.
Um, yeah, Paulides.
David Politis. He's done like a lot of research on this and
He used to
has
be a
like
cop.
requested like lists of missing people, and the state parks are like, oh no, we don't keep that list.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah, it's so to get ready for our wacky and ridiculous ideas on what's happening. We'll probably do that next episode. We highly suggest going and checking out some of the documentaries that are on YouTube and Hulu, because that shit. I mean, we're two hikers in the Northwest, so that shit is fucking terrifying to us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll get into that next, but now I'm going to jump into this listener story. His name's Joe Akins, and yeah, this is definitely a creepy one. We got two from him. I'm just gonna read the first one first. So
Okay.
it says, I was stationed in Okinawa, Japan, at an Air Force base from 2000 to 2003. Okinawa supposedly is one of the most haunted places on Earth.
Excuse me.
While stationed here in 2002, I witnessed a UFO fly over me at what seemed to be about 50 feet. In 2003, I was attacked one night in my sleep by a dark shadow figure that held me down and was physically crushing my chest. I couldn't breathe, move, or speak, so I prayed to God would allow me to break free. The entity then retreated and disappeared out my third-story bedroom window. Before going to sleep each night, I was always make sure that the window was closed and locked because there was a lot of malarkey that occurred in the military. So it was not uncommon for someone to climb in from one window to the next to do a practical joke. My military chaplain told me that the entity was real and it was evil, and it was a demon called a strong man. It happened a few more times at random. I would always get up and sleep on my roommate's couch. I told him about it, and he definitely believed me. I eventually moved back to Georgia and experienced the same thing there as well. While sleeping one night, a black figure appeared. It overwhelmed me, held me down, and I couldn't move, breathe, or speak. It felt all too familiar and replicated what I experienced in Okinawa. I again prayed that God would help me break away from its grasp, and suddenly the figure disappeared from my bedroom. My dog Rufus actually alerted to me the presence of the shadow figure and protected me. He growled at it as it approached through the bedroom door. I have been told that there are 16 strong men in the Bible, and that they have been known to follow people, feed off their fears, hunt, and possesses them in order to block them from entering heaven. Some people even believe a strong man will target a human of inferior character in order to use his or her attributes for evil. The occurrences match with stories from people who have experienced sleep paralysis and the vision of a shadow figure. I was raised in the South with a Catholic and Baptist influence, and I do feel that demons exist. Man, Joe. Some scary shit.
That's creepy.
Yeah. And it's like, the crazy part is how common sleep paralysis stories are, and how they always kind of involve that. And if you do deep dives on those as well as like alien abduction stories, the whole like praying and then they back off and go away thing is like really fucking common,
Mm.
which is kind of interesting. It makes you think about, you know, how would an alien know what God is, our version, and whether or not aliens are aliens, or they could be quote unquote demons. I don't know. So it's all creepy stuff.
Yeah, I thought I had sleep paralysis one night, and I woke up and I couldn't move. I was just staring at the ceiling, and like there was a perfect black like figure and two red eyes. But this was also when we still had our bliss light outside,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the 2 red dots were coming from our bliss light.
Totally.
That lined up perfectly. And I started to kind of panic and I couldn't move. And then I was just like staring at it and I was just like, that's totally the bliss light. That's totally a shadow. And I just closed my eyes and was like, and just was able to fall back asleep. Like I was like, I'm not gonna let myself just totally freak out. So I sat there like not being able to move, basically feeling totally paralyzed and just like, I'm going to try to debunk this. I was like, nope.
Yeah. Man, I definitely want to look into. He mentions Joe in this story mentions Okinawa being a super haunted place. I want to kind of look into that.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Do you want to read his second story?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and just read his second story. It's short. So Joe's second half says, my second story occurred when I was around 12 years old. We lived on a 3-acre plot, and there was a wooded lot beside my house between our home and our neighbor's home. Right along the wood line, we had a metal porch swing that we would sit on most evenings with my mother and father and just relax and talk about the day. One night I was awakened from sleeping, and I heard the swing creaking outside as if someone was swinging on it. I ignored this and went back to sleep. For the few following nights, I would hear the same thing. Finally, I was awakened by the swing and decided to go outside and see who was out there. So I went outside and saw what looked to be my father. When I got closer to the swing, I realized that it was indeed the devil. Poetically, the devil had come down to Georgia. Ironically, I was not afraid because he said, come sit with me, my child, and it was very comforting and almost hypnotic. I obviously did not go and sit with him, and I told him no, and that he needed to leave. He then disappeared and the swing stopped. He looked like a man, but still monstrous and demonic in the face, with a red aura. I went back inside and my mother asked me what in the hell I was doing outside. I told her that I heard a noise and went outside to check on it. She had no idea that hell was truly outside that night. LOL. I've never told anyone else this story because it just seems unbelievable and odd. Take care, Joe. Thanks, Joe. It's cool that you wrote us in this story. Hello from the Northwest. You're on the other side of the country, so it's cool to
that's pretty cool.
Cool to know that you are listening, and yeah, I hope you don't experience sleep paralysis anymore because that shit sucks, from what I've heard.
And I hope that you don't experience that dark person outside.
Yeah.
That's so creepy.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to believe in the devil more to like believe it was the devil, but I definitely don't put it anything. I don't discard anything really though in that kind of realm because fucked up shit happens, and there's so many stories, especially from the South. Like, if the devil, there's a what are they called? The Drive-By Truckers song, and ends with, "Luckily for him, the devil was also a Southerner."
Yeah.
So he's down there.
That's crazy. This story is from Dawn Evening, and so she messaged us. This is a little bit older of a story, but
yeah, we apologize for taking so long on this one.
She sent it back in October, and it's about astral projection,
which is something I'm fucking into.
All right, so Dawn writes in. It was actually a few months ago this past summer. I was going to bed at my usual time, but I was having trouble staying asleep. I felt a high hum near my ears and opened my eyes and realized I was standing over my body. I felt a tug and went outside. It was like my yard, only more desolate, if that makes sense. I suddenly felt slightly panicked and noticed a darker figure leering over my body. It was creepily smiling and glancing at my body. I felt another tug and was in a different body that was standing in my yard. At that point, I pushed myself back towards my body and very slowly woke up to see the black figure disappear from my bedside. It was definitely one of the more intense travels in astral projection. Usually I visit town or something and calmly get tugged back to my body, but this one took a lot more effort than other times.
That's wicked.
So she's a frequent astral projector, but
Yeah.
this scenario where the black figures were kind of pulling at her is not something she
Yeah,
has
and that
experienced. That's pretty crazy.
yeah, that actually reminds me similarly of and I believe that I talked about it in one of our past podcasts, what I experienced in the flotation tank, which sensory deprivation can definitely help aid in astral projection. And so like when I saw like the black figures floating above me that were like darker than the darkness and whatnot, some creepy shit.
Yeah, she wrote that she's been able to see beings since she was little and also hear them, and she tends to have a lot of premonitions and dreams that come true. She writes, I see a lot of places before I even visit them. I think I inherited it from my mom because it happens to her a lot too. I tend to unintentionally astral project a lot as well.
Man.
So she not only can kind of be like sensitive to, you know,
Yeah.
to maybe like paranormal things or
Yeah.
but she can also astral project. That's pretty cool. But I feel like that has to come up with you kind of have to like I've never astral projected, or that would be something I would definitely talk about. But I feel like with that, it would be such an easy thing to get lost in that there's got to be a lot of um, I don't know. You have to be like careful
Yeah.
and not to get lost and away from your own body.
Yeah, most definitely.
But I mean,
But that's
if
also
she's got experience, she may know what she's doing. But it's a scary thing. I don't know if I would like to do it. I think I would be afraid to.
yeah, I mean, it rides that level that one experiences kind of with the psychedelic world as well. And so, and I feel like I've done enough psychedelics that astral projection would just kind of be a little more familiar, I guess. I don't know. I definitely believe that there's kind of the multiple versions of ourself, like the astral version and like the physical version. And yeah, hopefully that's just all that happens when we die.
Yeah.
Is that we lose a physical form and have full consciousness and whatnot.
Mhm.
That'd be nice. Because that's what some say you're kind of doing when you hit the astral plane is just connecting with the universal consciousness and kind of interacting with everything as it goes to's and froms. But yeah, we got a couple more stories. Should I read the Jasmine one? Do you
Yeah.
want to? All right. Let me pull it up. The email was titled "Weird Shit Our Kid Did."
Kid shit scares me.
Yeah, Lonnie and I frequently talk about how we're gonna be terrible parents one day because like our kid will be like 4 years old and be like, "Mom, Dad, there's a monster in my closet," or "There's a ghost," and we're like, "Holy fuck, there's monsters and ghosts. We gotta move.
Yeah.
We gotta get the fuck out of here,
You're
kid."
staying at a motel.
Yeah, no shit. So I'll start with this one. Because she wrote a couple different little tidbits that involve her kid. It says, and this for just so you know, Dan in this story is Jasmine's husband.
Okay.
And also, just fun fact, Dan was my college roommate. So we know these people.
They're great people.
They're great folks, and they aren't liars. So we fucking believe these stories wholeheartedly. They are cool folk. So it says, Dan's dad, Mike, passed away too soon to cancer last August. He loved children, especially his granddaughters. Ellie was about 2.5 years old, and one of the things he had mentioned to me a few days before his death was that he promised to watch over the girls and that he was saddened that Ellie probably won't remember him because she's so young. After he passed, maybe within a few weeks, Ellie began staying up late and having conversations with what we assumed at first was just herself. Now, our daughters were not present when Mike passed, nor did they attend his services. We had told them gently that their grandpa had died, discussed their feelings, and let it be. One night we could hear Ellie speaking pretty clearly. She even giggled like she was being tickled. The next morning I asked Ellie how her sleep was, and she told me her grandpa had tickled her and that he had told her stories and sang songs with her. She said that he likes to visit her because she can see him. This went on for a few months, but became less frequent. Since turning 3 in March, I haven't heard her talking with him.
Gives me goosebumps. I have goosebumps all over my body.
Yeah, it's definitely
I think it's sweet, like that she's seeing her grandpa, and like he's visiting her, but at the same time, I'm like, oh my god, like kids talking about ghosts scares me.
I know. And especially because you just have to really hope that if that is happening, that it is the grandpa.
Right.
And if you're listening, Jasmine, not to freak you out.
Yeah, don't freak out, Jasmine, please.
But sometimes other entities like to mimic things that we knew and would expect. But that's just me getting very Zach Bagginsy on it.
Dude, bro,
might be a demon. Got a demon, bro. But no, I really hope that was Dan's dad visiting.
I think it was, because if it were anything other than him, I feel like other things would have happened.
Yeah, for sure.
But
and they would
if
still
Ellie,
be happening.
Yeah, but if Ellie was able to see him and giggle and laugh and talk and sing with him,
for sure,
then I think it was him, especially if he loved his granddaughter so much, like she said he did.
Yeah, he definitely did. So here's another story in kind of the same vein. It's that in December we took the trip to Montana, to Dan's parents' house for Christmas. Ellie had been pretty sick days prior to us leaving, but Dan really wanted to go, so we loaded up the car and headed out. Poor parenting, I know. I wasn't too thrilled, just wanted that mentioned. Oh, Jasmine. As the 8-hour drive went on, Ellie spiked a fever, wouldn't eat or drink, and was acting lethargic. I was really worried. Soon as we made it into Missoula, we went to urgent care to make sure she was okay. While it wasn't anything serious, she was diagnosed with the flu, an upper respiratory infection, a double ear infection, and she felt like shit. And it was hard to get her to take her medicine or sips of water. The threat was if she didn't start getting fluids in, we would have to admit her to the hospital for an IV. That night, or maybe the night after, my concern increased. She wasn't drinking like she should and hardly taking her full dose of meds. Her fever had remained pretty high, and I decided I was going to sleep with her for the night and offer water and meds to keep her fever manageable if she woke up. Needless to say, I slept like shit. In the middle of the night, I slowly woke to a warm feeling, like a hand resting on my left shoulder. I was sleeping on my right side, facing Ellie. It was rather dark, so I initially thought Dan came into bed with us while I was sleeping. Ellie woke up, rolled to my face, and said, "Hi, Grandpa." I froze for a second.
Chills just went over my whole body.
I froze for a second and felt around behind me. The warm feeling went away, and there was nobody back there. That morning, her fever broke. She took down her meds, fluids, and food, and I didn't know what to think of that. But I wasn't dreaming. I wore a Fitbit, so I checked my sleep for that night. Sure enough, I was awake for about 30 minutes around the time that all that went down. Whew.
Again with the goosebumps.
Yeah, it's some creepy shit.
Ellie's special, it sounds like.
Yeah.
She's got it.
Yeah. Definitely. Then, I mean, that's even how she started. I've been reading this email out of order.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to read the last story from Jasmine. Thank you so much for sending these to us. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you know this already, but Ellie's special. So it says, our daughter Ellie has been sort of special since the day she was born. She would lie in her crib and babble for long periods of time like she was having a conversation. I couldn't tell you the number of times she would be staring at someone over my shoulder and I would get a cold sensation, like maybe we weren't the only ones there. It was like she was holding someone's gaze. In February, I had the weirdest experience, and I couldn't shake an eerie feeling. Out of the blue one morning, Ellie told me, "You die, Mommy? You and Daddy leave me. You get hit and you die. And Nana and Grandpa help Daddy take care of me." I had no idea what she was talking about. None. I thought she was saying that I would get in a fight or something, which I would obviously win because I'm a badass.
You are a badass,
You
Jasmine.
I've seen you be a badass. You're a badass. Then, after I dropped her off at school that morning, I'm driving home. We have a roundabout that connects to the exit off the interstate that I have to go through to get to my neighborhood. I see out of the corner of my eye a guy getting off the exit where he must slow down or stop to yield to me, but he is going way too fast. So I slam on my brakes so I don't get T-boned by him, and he slams on his too. It was super close. So as I pull into our driveway, I suddenly get what she was referring to. She was referring to a car accident that Dan and I could potentially get into that evening. We were supposed to go to a concert. That's us leaving her, as she mentioned, which a night out for us is pretty rare, and I'm sure we hadn't mentioned it to her prior. I was too superstitious to go to the Saves the Day concert and stay home that night. So,
yeah, I
little
don't think I'd go.
premonitions.
I don't think I'd go to the concert either if my daughter looked at me and said, "Mommy, you die?" I'm like,
You get
huh?
hit and you die.
Yeah.
And in that scenario,
Especially for being such a
like
little
3-year-old,
infant, like knowing that stuff, it's like, oh my gosh, she didn't say anything, like if you are superstitious like that and she, let's say, didn't have said anything, like, I don't know, it's just crazy to me.
Yeah, it's fucking, and it's funny because Dan invited me to the Saves the Day concert that night, but we were out of town.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's just crazy.
I know people still go see Saves the Day. I love that band.
Yeah, I think maybe we should have Ellie on our show. But
when she can talk.
Yeah. Interview Ellie.
All right. Put a little 4-year-old at the table, give her some juice box, and be like, "What did you see?
Yeah.
Tell us your creepiest stories.
Tell us all about it, Ellie."
She's like, "Tell you about what? Like the old woman in the corner here?"
I'm like, okay, we're done. We are done.
I'd be like, "Fuck you, kid."
No, those are cool stories though.
What was that you just showed me?
So this one is from Terrence Smith that I don't think we've ever talked about.
I definitely don't know what you're talking about.
It's a long one. Are you ready?
Yeah. I got my bong. I got my water.
I got my Dr. Thunder. We have
a Dr. Thunder and a Dr. Pepper on the table.
And they taste the same.
Well, we should do a blind taste test.
We should do. Okay, I won't drink any more of my Dr. Thunder. It's pretty damn good, though.
Okay, you grab that and I'll grab 4 shot glasses.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
I thought we were really going for it. I was really excited to do a doctor test.
It's science.
It's science. All right, this one is from Terrence Smith. It's long, so bear with me on when I inevitably screw it up.
Like reading, especially on we're not live, but we're not editing any of this podcast. It's just
reading is hard.
Reading is so hard.
It's so hard. Okay. He starts with, "This true and strange event happened to me in Auckland, New Zealand in 2013. I was working for a carpet cleaning company in Auckland, New Zealand, and given the job to cleaning the communal hallways of a 4-story block of private apartments in the Auckland CBD area." I don't know what that is. On arrival, I checked in with the apartment manager and signed the visitor's book and got allocated an empty apartment on the 2nd floor to use as my base for the safekeeping of my equipment, chemicals, etc., and for the filling and emptying of the portable carpet cleaning machine. I asked the apartment manager if I needed to be aware of any night workers that may still be sleeping or anything. He said not to worry, as there were only 3 people left in the building. An elderly couple on the 4th floor and a student on the 1st, so just do your thing. I got the key from the apartment manager for an empty apartment on the second floor and started taking my equipment up to the second floor ready to start my morning's work. I started off the job giving all hallways a pre-spray with stain remover due to all the heavy foot traffic that they see on a daily basis, and decided to start on the hallway that I has was using as a base. During the pre-spray process, I also collect any paper or debris that I find on the so the suction hose on the carpet cleaning machine doesn't become blocked and add more time and extra work to the job. When I had finished pre-spraying all 4 hallways, I went back down in the lift to my base on the second floor and filled up the carpet cleaning machine. I decided to start the carpet cleaning on the 4th floor and work my way down to the 1st floor. When I had finished cleaning the 4th floor hallway, I jumped back into the lift and went back down to the 2nd floor to my base to empty the dirty water out of the machine and refill it with clean water, ready for the 3rd floor. And as I stepped out of the lift and headed right toward my base, I noticed a 10-cent coin laying on the floor up against the skirting board on the left. I knew it wasn't there beforehand, as I had already pre-sprayed the hallway and collected up the bits of paper and debris. I picked up the coin and looked around for somewhere to put it, a window ledge or something, but there wasn't anywhere to put it, so I popped it in the back pocket of my work pants. I carried on down the hallway to the empty apartment and refilled the carpet machine and took off up to the 3rd floor and cleaned that. It took 30 minutes. I got back into the lift and went back to the 2nd floor. Again, I turned right out of the lift, and lo and behold, there was another 10-cent coin in exactly the same place up against the skirting board. I picked up the coin and looked around in case there was someone down the other end of the hallway. There was nobody there. For a quick second, I thought to myself that I had thrown the previous coin back down on the floor. After checking my back pocket, the other coin was there, so now I had 2 10-cent coins. I carried on towards the empty apartment and refilled the carpet cleaner and then went down to the 1st floor to clean the hallway carpet before I started to do that, I decided to take the lift to the ground floor and ask the apartment manager if he was sure anyone on the 2nd floor was out. Oh, sure, everyone on the 2nd floor was out. Sorry about that. He told me that every tenant had to sign in and out of the building for safety reasons in case of a fire, etc. That way the emergency services would know who's left in the building. He checked his records and showed me that the form which showed all residents had left except the 3 he had mentioned, so it definitely confirmed to me that all the apartments on the 2nd floor were empty. The manager also stated that he had visually seen all the tenants leave for work that morning, as he does every other morning. After explaining this odd and unusual event to him, I went back up to the 2nd floor and cleaned the hallway carpet, then got back into the lift and went up to the 2nd floor to change out the dirty water in readiness to clean the last hallway I had my base on. When I got to the 2nd floor, I got out of the lift and walked to where I had found the 2 coins and said out loud, "Is there anyone here with me? A ghost, spirit, anyone? If there is, give me a sign that you are here. Bang something, move something, show yourself, anything, just to let me know that you are here with me." I waited for around 2 to 3 minutes, but no sign of a ghost or anything. Then I said out loud, just as I expected, nothing. I waited for another minute or 2, then walked off towards the carpet cleaning machine and cleaned the last hallway. I wheeled the machine into the empty apartment to empty out the dirty water and clean out the filter, ready for the next job. I rolled up the extension cord, put it on top of the machine, and wheeled it to the lift, ready to take down to the van. I walked back to the apartment, picked up the hose and 2 chemical bottles. I took them also to the lift. And that's when it got really weird. Dun, 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 dun. Here we go.
That's when it got weird.
Yeah. I went back to the apartment, picked up the last 2 chemical bottles, and locked the apartment door and went back to the lift. As I bent down to put the 2 chemical bottles down, I heard something land on the floor just to the right-hand side of my face. I instantly thought I hadn't screwed one of the lids on the bottles properly, and it had fallen off and rolled across the floor. So I immediately looked to my left where I had put the 4 bottles and noticed straight away all the lids were on, and I looked across to my right again, and there was another 10-cent coin on the floor. This coin was actually dropped just above my head. I clearly heard it gently hit the floor just to the side of my face. When I composed myself, I looked up above me to see if there was an air vent in the ceiling or something, or if someone was playing a trick on me, but there was no air vent there, and I was the only person on that floor. I was actually right outside the lift, so nobody could have come out of the lift and threw that coin without me seeing them. And that also goes for a tenant opening their front door further down the hallway. I would have heard them as the hallway was empty of people, and it was silent. I was the only person on that floor, and that coin was pretty much dropped in front of my face. If the coin was thrown from a distance, it would have rolled and not have gently dropped in front of me like it did. Also, it would have had to have been pretty well calculated throw to have been thrown so far and so perfectly to have reached me and landed where it did. Like I mentioned earlier, I asked for a sign, and I actually think that was it, because that last coin was gently dropped just above my head and came out of thin air, and I believe that spirit ghost or whatever it was gave me the confirmation that he or she was certainly there. This was an actual event that happened to me while at work. I am not prone to exaggeration or lies. I was 56 years old at the time and consider myself to be a level-headed person with integrity. Regards, Terrence Smith. That is crazy. I would have stayed there just to keep collecting coins so I could retire.
Oh.
Yeah, he has written more that we can go into, but that's like eerie enough to like go to an empty apartment building where it's empty, but it's like there are so many rooms and stuff. It's like I don't think I would ever feel alone.
Yeah, for sure.
In just the energy in the apartment building and stuff, and having it be empty.
Yeah, that's fucking nuts. I forgot. He wrote us that a while back.
Yeah, he did. It's a good one.
Yeah.
He says he hasn't really ever told anybody else about this except for his wife. And they sometimes talk about it out of the blue, and to this day he's still kind of like he has no answers. Yeah. Like he's just kind of like, this is weird.
Yeah. And so some of these stories were submitted by people that we found in various groups on Facebook. So I want to give a shout out to the Hardcore Paranormal group, the All Things Halloween group.
Oh, that's a fun group.
And then some of you guys I found in like other podcasts like us that are way more popular and heard by thousands or millions of people, like Monsters Among Us and whatnot. People that try to submit their stories there and never get heard. And so, and because, there's quite a bit of people. And so thank you to members of those groups that have sent us things. We're going to continue do it as long as you keep sending us. We will read everything eventually.
Yeah, please keep sending us your stories. It's so interesting just to hear what people and it doesn't have to be, it could be anything. Let it be paranormal, a superstition, some sort of unexplained thing in the sky.
We've been talking about actually wanting to do an episode all about superstitions because there's just such fucking crazy ones.
Yeah, there's a lot. So if you have a superstition, send it to us.
Yeah. We were watching that stand-up comedy special. Her name is Lisa Traeger. And she was talking about growing up Russian. Mm-hmm. And she listed that was one of her jokes. So she lists all the various superstitions she had that her roommates had to deal with. And they're like, oh, if only you had learned to wash a fucking dish.
Yeah.
Well, there was she lists so many crazy ones, like never walk over someone's legs because then they'll never grow. Mm-hmm. Just shit like that. And so I want to know.
I want to know too. I think it would be very interesting. But All right. Well, I think that's all the readings I have for the day.
Yeah, that's I think that's it for this. Head over to Treehouse Joints website. If you want to smoke weed at a treehouse in Monroe, Washington, they're the place to go. It's fucking magical out there. I'd recommend probably going out there and doing more than just smoke weed because there's fun animals to play with. There's a pig, some parrots, there's a hot tub, a donkey.
Yeah. But if you go to their website, treehousejoint.com, enter We Believe, and you get 10% off your booking, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah. And cool. Thank you guys so much.
All right. We believe you. 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 We